A royal guard in his bright red uniform suddenly drops to one knee, his hands moving rapidly to reload his rifle. The metallic click echoes through the palace grounds. Tourists gasp and pull out their phones. Security radios crackle with urgent voices. All eyes turn to a small figure in the distance, 50-year-old Prince Louis, holding something shiny in his hands. Alarms are blaring. Guards are running. What did the young prince do to trigger a full security alert? And why is a ceremonial guard loading live ammunition? The next few minutes will test every security protocol at the palace. The morning started like any other. Tuesday at Kensington Palace, Sergeant James Crawford stood at his post near the main entrance, his red uniform perfectly pressed, his bearskin hat sitting exactly as regulations required. He had been a royal guard for 7 years, and he knew the routine by heart. Stand perfectly still, eyes forward. Ignore the tourists taking photos. Respond only to genuine threats. James loved his job despite the long hours of standing motionless. There was something honorable about protecting the royal family, about being part of a tradition that stretched back centuries. His father had been a guard and his grandfather before that. The Crawford family had served the crown for 3 generations. The palace grounds were busy this morning. Tour groups moved along the designated pathways, guides explaining the history of the building and the significance of the guards. Children pointed and waved, hoping for a reaction. James remained still as a statue, his rifle held at the precise angle required by protocol. Inside the palace, 5-year-old Prince Louis was having a difficult morning. He had woken up grumpy, refusing to eat his breakfast. His nanny Maria had tried everything: his favorite cereal, toast with jam, even the promise of playing outside later. Nothing worked. Louis sat at the breakfast table with his arms crossed, his lower lip stuck out in a pout. Catherine checked on him between her own morning preparations. She had 3 events scheduled today, and her stylist was already waiting upstairs. "Louis, sweetheart, you need to eat something. You'll be hungry later." "Don't want to," Louis mumbled. "Why not?" "Is your tummy upset?" Louis shook his head. The truth was, he had no good reason for his mood. Sometimes 5-year-olds just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and today was one of those days. Everything felt annoying. His shirt was itchy. The sun was too bright. George and Charlotte had already left for school, and he felt left out. "I tell you what," Catherine said gently. "If you eat half your breakfast, you can play in the garden before your lessons." "Deal." Louis considered this. The garden was his favorite place. He could run and climb and explore. "Can I bring my cars?" "Of course." "Now eat up." Louis managed to eat half a piece of toast and drink some juice. Catherine kissed the top of his head and went upstairs to finish getting ready. Maria took Louis to brush his teeth and wash his face, then helped him change into play-clothes shorts and a comfortable t-shirt. "Can we go to the front garden?" Louis asked as Maria gathered his toy cars. "I want to see the guards. The front garden is for visitors, sweetheart." "We'll play in the private garden. I want to see the red soldiers. They have the funny tall hats." Maria smiled. Louis was fascinated by the royal guards, always wanting to watch them during their shifts. "Maybe later we can walk past them on our way to the car. Right now, the private garden." Louis followed Maria outside, carrying his favorite blue racing car. The private garden was beautiful, with perfectly trimmed hedges and colorful flower beds. But Louis had played here hundreds of times. It felt boring today. He wanted adventure, something different, something exciting. Maria settled onto a bench with her book, keeping one eye on Louis as he pushed his car along the garden paths. "Stay where I can see you," she called. Louis pushed his car around the fountain, making engine noises. He drove it up and over the edge of a flower bed, pretending it was a mountain. He crashed it into a rock, making explosion sounds. After 20 minutes, he was bored. That's when he noticed the small gate at the far end of the garden. It was usually locked, but today it stood slightly open. Someone must have forgotten to close it properly after bringing in gardening supplies. Louis looked back at Maria. She was absorbed in her book, turning pages without looking up. Curiosity pulled Louis toward the gate like a magnet. He knew he wasn't supposed to leave the private garden without an adult. But the gate was so close, and Maria wasn't watching. and he just wanted to peek through. Just a quick look. No one would even notice. He pushed the gate open slowly, careful not to make noise. On the other side was a service pathway that ran along the palace exterior. Louis had never been here before. It felt like discovering a secret world. He walked forward, his car clutched in his hand, eyes wide with wonder. The path led toward the front of the palace. Louis could hear voices, tourists talking and laughing. He could see the tips of the guards' bearskin hats above a hedge. This was perfect. He could go see the red soldiers up close, just for a minute, then hurry back, before Maria noticed he was gone. James Crawford maintained his rigid stance at his post, aware of every movement in his peripheral vision. Years of training meant he could track potential threats without obviously moving his eyes. A man with a large camera approaching. A family with 3 children running ahead of their parents. An elderly woman with a cane, moving slowly. All normal. All safe. Then something unusual caught his attention. A small figure moving along the restricted pathway that ran beside the palace. Children weren't allowed in that area. It was for staff and security only. James shifted his eyes slightly, trying to get a better view without breaking position. The child was very young, maybe 4 or 5 years old. He wore casual clothes and carried a toy car. He walked with the confident stride of someone who belonged there. But no staff member would bring a child into a restricted area. James felt the first flutter of concern. The boy emerged fully into view, and James's heart skipped a beat. He recognized that face from countless official photographs and news reports. Prince Louis, the youngest child of the Prince and Princess of Wales, walking alone in a restricted area, heading directly toward the public access zone. James remained frozen, his mind racing. Protocol was clear: he couldn't leave his post without authorization. But a member of the royal family was potentially in danger, walking toward crowds of tourists with no protection. Where was his security detail? Where was his nanny? Louis reached the end of the pathway and stepped onto the grass near the tourist area. He was now visible to the public, though most people hadn't noticed him yet. He walked toward James, smiling up at the tall guard in his impressive uniform. "Hello, Louis," said brightly. "I like your hat. It's very big." James broke protocol and looked directly down at the prince. "Your Royal Highness, you shouldn't be here." "Where's your nanny?" "She's reading." "I wanted to see the soldiers." Louis held up his toy car. "This is my racing car. Do you like cars?" Before James could respond, a woman in the crowd pointed. "Oh my goodness, is that Prince Louis?" "The little prince is right there." Heads turned. Phones came up. Within seconds, dozens of tourists were surging forward, wanting photos and a closer look. The crowd dynamic changed instantly from casual sightseeing to excited chaos. People pushed closer, calling Louis's name, reaching out with phones and cameras. James made a split-second decision. He stepped forward, positioning himself between Louis and the advancing crowd. "Stay back. Maintain distance." His voice carried the authority of years of military training, but the crowd kept pressing closer. Some people meant no harm, they just wanted a photo of the adorable prince. But in a crowd, individual intentions didn't matter. The mass movement created danger. Louis could be knocked down, trampled, or worse. James's radio crackled to life. "Crawford, what's your status?" "We're seeing unusual crowd movement on camera." James pressed his radio button while keeping his eyes on the crowd. "Code yellow. Prince Louis is at my position without security detail. Requesting immediate backup." "Say again?" "Prince Louis." "Confirmed. 5-year-old male royal, minimal protection. Crowd is advancing. I need backup now." The response was immediate. "All units code yellow at main entrance. Royal family member exposed. Converge immediately." Armed response authorized if needed. Alarms began blaring throughout the palace complex. The tourist-friendly atmosphere vanished instantly, replaced by military precision. Guards abandoned their ceremonial posts and ran toward James's location. Security vehicles appeared from hidden positions. Staff members began evacuating tourists from the immediate area. James dropped to one knee, bringing himself to Louis's level while maintaining a protective position. With practiced movements, He released the magazine from his ceremonial rifle and replaced it with a live ammunition magazine from his belt. The metallic click of the reload seemed impossibly loud. Lewis's eyes went wide. "Why are you doing that? Are we playing soldiers?" "Your Royal Highness, I need you to stay very close to me. Don't move away. Understand?" Louis nodded, suddenly frightened by the serious tone and the alarms in the running guards. He clutched his toy car tighter. "I want my mummy. We'll get you to your mummy very soon. But right now, you need to be a brave prince and do exactly what I say." The crowd, seeing armed guards approaching at a run, began to panic. Some people pushed backward, away from the perceived threat. Others tried to get closer, thinking they needed to see what was happening. The chaos intensified. 3 more guards reached James's position, forming a protective circle around Louis. One of them spoke urgently into his radio. "Package secure. Repeat, package secure. Requesting immediate evacuation route." David Chen, the head of palace security, arrived in an unmarked car that screeched to a halt on the grass. He jumped out, his face pale with fear and anger. "How did this happen? Where's his nanny?" "Unknown, sir," James reported. "He appeared on the service path alone. Walked directly into the public area." David knelt beside Louis. "Your Royal Highness, are you hurt? Did anyone touch you?" Louis shook his head, tears now streaming down his face. The fun adventure had turned scary. There were too many people, too much noise, too many serious faces. "I just wanted to see the soldiers. I didn't do anything bad." "You're not in trouble," David said gently, though his jaw was clenched with stress. "We just need to get you somewhere safe. Can you walk with me to the car?" Louis nodded. David scooped him up, carrying him quickly toward the vehicle. The circle of guards moved with them, maintaining protection on all sides. James stayed on high alert, his rifle ready, scanning the crowd for any actual threats. As the car doors closed around Louis and David sped toward the private residence, James finally allowed himself to exhale. His hands were shaken slightly from the adrenaline. In 7 years of service, he had never fired his weapon, never faced a real threat. Today had come closer than he ever wanted to experience again. The crowd was being cleared now by additional security forces. Tourist access to the front palace was shut down completely. News helicopters appeared overhead, having picked up the security alert on their scanners. Within minutes, this would be international news. James's radio crackled again. "Crawford, report to security office immediately for debrief." "Copy that," James responded. He safeguarded his weapon, removing the live ammunition magazine and securing everything properly. Another guard arrived to take over his post. As James walked toward the security building, he realized his legs felt weak. The reality of what had almost happened was sinking in. Prince Louis, a 5-year-old child, had walked alone into a public area. Anything could have happened. A kidnapping attempt. A deranged person with bad intentions. A simple accident in the crush of the crowd. The scenarios ran through James's mind, each one worse than the last. Inside the palace, Catherine was being informed of the incident. She had been upstairs with her stylist when her private secretary burst in, his face grave. "Ma'am, there's been a security incident involving Prince Louis." Catherine's blood ran cold. "Is he hurt?" "No, ma'am. He's safe. But he wandered into a public area alone. He's being brought to you now." Catherine ran, not caring about her half-finished hair and makeup. She flew down the stairs, her heart pounding with a mother's terror. When she reached the private entrance, David Chen was just bringing Louis inside. The little boy's face was tear-streaked and frightened. "Louis." Catherine grabbed him from David's arms, holding him tight. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm sorry, Mummy. I just wanted to see the red soldiers. I didn't mean to make everyone scared." Catherine buried her face in her son's hair, overwhelmed with relief and residual fear. He was safe. He was whole. Everything else could be dealt with later. Catherine carried Louis to the private sitting room, unwilling to let him go. Her hands were still shaking. She sat on the sofa with him in her lap, checking him over one more time. No scratches. No bruises. Just a scared little boy who had made a mistake. Tell me exactly what happened, Catherine said softly. How did you get to the front of the palace? Louis's lower lip trembled. I was playing in the garden with Maria, but it was boring. I saw the gate was open, and I wanted to see the guards with the tall hats. I walked through the gate and followed the path. Then I saw the guard, and he was so tall, and his uniform was so red, and Louis started crying again. Everyone started shouting and running, and I got scared. Catherine pulled him close. You know, you're not supposed to leave the garden without an adult, don't you? Yes, Mummy, I'm sorry. I didn't think anything bad would happen. I just wanted to look. I know, sweetheart. But there are rules to keep you safe. The gardens have gates and walls for a reason. Catherine wiped his tears with her thumb. You gave everyone a terrible fright. Security guards had to stop what they were doing. Alarms went off. All because you walked away? Will I be in big trouble? We'll talk about consequences later. Right now, I just need to hold you and know you're safe. Maria appeared in the doorway, her face pale and stricken with guilt. Your Royal Highness, I'm so terribly sorry. I was watching him. I swear I was. He was playing by the fountain, and I looked down at my book for just a moment, and when I looked up, he was gone. I searched the entire garden before I realized the gate was open. I came running as fast as I could. Catherine looked at the nanny, seeing genuine distress. Maria had been with the family for 2 years and had always been careful and attentive. How long was he out of your sight? No more than 5 minutes. Maybe less. I panicked when I couldn't find him. I should have noticed the gate was open immediately. Who left the gate open? I don't know, ma'am. It's always locked. Someone from the maintenance staff must have forgotten to secure it after their morning work. Catherine nodded slowly. She wasn't angry at Maria accidents happened with children, especially clever, curious ones like Louis, but the security breach was serious. An unlocked gate in a private royal area could have resulted in much worse than a wandering child. Maria, take Louis to his room and help him wash his face. Let him play with his toys quietly for a while. I need to speak with security. After they left, Catherine sat alone, processing what had happened. Her son had been in danger. Not immediate violent danger, but the potential had been there. In the wrong crowd, with the wrong person present, things could have gone horribly wrong. William arrived home 20 minutes later, having canceled his morning engagements the moment he heard. He found Catherine in the sitting room, staring out the window. Where is he? In his room with Maria, he's fine. Scared but fine. William sat beside her, taking her hand. What happened? Catherine explained everything she had learned. William's face grew darker with each detail. An unlocked gate. No one noticed for hours. Louis just walked out. He's 5 years old. He saw an opportunity for adventure and took it. We can't blame him for that. I'm not blaming him. I'm terrified by how easy it was. Our son walked into a public area with hundreds of strangers. Anything could have happened. William ran his hands through his hair. We need a complete security review. Today, every gate, every lock, every protocol. David Chen knocked on the doorframe. Your Royal Highnesses, may I brief you on what we know? Please, Catherine said. David entered with a tablet, bringing up security camera footage. At Height 43, Prince Louis exited the private garden through the east service gate. The gate had been left unsecured by a maintenance worker who was delivering mulch for the flower beds. The worker has been identified and is being questioned. The footage showed Louis looking so small and vulnerable, pushing open the gate and walking through. Catherine's throat tightened watching it. He walked along the service path for approximately 90 seconds before entering the public viewing area. At 0-8-40-5, Sergeant Crawford identified him and initiated Code Yellow Protocol. By 0-8-40-6, backup arrived and Prince Louis was secured. Total time in public area, approximately 3 minutes. 3 minutes, William repeated. 3 minutes where our son was exposed to anyone who wanted to grab him? Yes, sir. However, I want to assure you that Sergeant Crawford responded perfectly. He maintained protection, called for backup immediately, and armed himself as protocol dictates. His actions likely prevented a more serious incident. How many people saw Louis? Catherine asked. Initial crowd was approximately 40 tourists in the immediate area. However, within the first minute, more began converging. By the time we had him secured, roughly 100 people had gathered. We're reviewing all camera footage and social media to identify anyone who may have approached too closely or behaved suspiciously. Social media, William said grimly. It's already out there, isn't it? Yes, sir. Multiple videos and photos were posted within minutes. We're working with platforms to remove content that shows Prince Louis in a vulnerable situation, but some spread is inevitable. Catherine closed her eyes. By tomorrow, the world would know that her 5-year-old son had wandered away from his nanny and triggered a security alert. The tabloids would have a field day. Critics would question their parenting. Security experts would debate palace protocols. And Louis, innocent Louis, would be at the center of it all. What happens to the maintenance worker? William asked. That's being determined. Leaving a security gate unsecured is a serious breach. At minimum, he'll lose his palace access. Likely he'll be terminated. It was a mistake, Catherine said quietly. He forgot to lock a gate. He didn't do it maliciously. With respect, ma'am, mistakes in security can cost lives. We can't afford to be lenient. William stood and walked to the window. I want that gate permanently locked. If maintenance needs access, they request it in advance, and security supervises. No more casual access to areas adjacent to the family gardens. Already being implemented, sir? And we're reviewing all gates and access points throughout the property. Good, thank you. David, please send Sergeant Crawford to see me when you're done debriefing him. After David left, William turned to Catherine. We need to talk to Louis. He has to understand how serious this was. He's 5 years old. He knows he made a mistake. He's scared and confused. Let's not traumatize him further. I'm not going to traumatize him. But he needs to understand that rules exist for his safety. That wandering off isn't an adventure, it's dangerous. They went upstairs together to Louis's room. He was sitting on his bed, his toy car abandoned on the floor. When he saw his father, his eyes filled with tears again. Are you angry at me, Papa? William sat on the bed and pulled Louis onto his lap. I'm not angry. I'm relieved you're safe. But I need you to understand something very important. Okay, Louis whispered. When you left the garden without Maria, you put yourself in danger. There are people in the world who might want to hurt you or take you away from us. That's why we have gates and guards and rules. It's not to be mean or to stop you from having fun. It's to keep you safe. I didn't see anyone scary. Just people with cameras. Not everyone who looks normal is safe. And in a big crowd, accidents can happen. Someone could knock you down without meaning to. You could get lost. Someone could grab your hand and lead you away. And by the time anyone noticed, you'd be gone. Louis's eyes widened with understanding and fear. Really? Really. That's why you must always stay with an adult. Always. If you want to go somewhere or see something, you ask first. You never, ever walk away alone. Can you promise me that? I promise, Papa. I won't do it again. I was scared when all the alarms went off. I thought I broke something. Catherine smoothed his hair. You triggered a security alert. The alarms mean the guards need to respond quickly to keep you safe. You saw how fast they came running. Louis nodded. The red guard got down on his knee and did something to his gun. It made a clicking sound. He was loading his rifle, making sure he could protect you if needed. From what? From anything that might hurt you. Catherine kissed his forehead. We love you so much, Louis, more than anything in the world. And that's why we have rules and guards, and why you need to listen when we tell you to stay in safe places. I love you too, Mummy. I'm sorry I scared you. I know, sweetheart. Now, you're going to stay in your room for the rest of the morning. That's your consequence for breaking the rules. You can play with your toys, but you can't go outside or watch television. After lunch, if you behave, we'll do something fun together, okay? Louis climbed off William's lap and picked up his toy car. Can George and Charlotte know what happened? They'll find out, William said. And they'll probably have questions. You can tell them the truth that you made a mistake and learn from it. Downstairs, James Crawford waited nervously in the security office. He had given his full report to David Chen and the other security supervisors. They had reviewed the camera footage multiple times, analyzing his every move. James knew he had followed protocol exactly, but he still felt anxious. A member of the royal family had been exposed on his watch. That wasn't something you recovered from easily in this job. David returned with an unreadable expression. "Sergeant Crawford, the Prince of Wales would like to see you." James's stomach dropped. "Am I being relieved of duty, sir?" "That's not my decision." "Come with me." James followed David through the palace corridors, his mind racing. Would he be fired, demoted, reassigned to a less prestigious post? He had served honorably for 7 years, but one incident could end a career. David led him to a private office where William waited. James stood at attention, eyes forward. "Your Royal Highness?" "It's at ease, Sergeant. Please, sit down." James sat carefully on the edge of the chair, his back straight. William studied him for a moment before speaking. "I've reviewed the security footage and read your report. You identified the threat immediately, called for backup without hesitation, and placed yourself between my son and a potentially dangerous crowd. Your actions were exemplary." "Thank you, sir. I was just following protocol. Protocol is one thing. Quick thinking and genuine care are another. You could have frozen. You could have waited for someone else to handle it. You could have prioritized your post over my son's safety. But you didn't. You acted decisively to protect Louis. He's a child, sir. And he looked so small standing there with all those people pressing toward him. I couldn't let anything happen to him." William nodded slowly. "I want to thank you personally. Not as your prince, but as a father. You kept my son safe during a terrifying situation. That's something I'll never forget." James felt his throat tighten with emotion. "It was my honor, sir, truly." "How long have you been a royal guard?" 7 years, sir. My father served for 25 years before retiring." "Crawford, I remember your father. Good man. Solid soldier, sir. He taught me that protecting the royal family is more than a job. It's a sacred duty. He taught you well." William stood. "I'm recommending you for commendation. What you did today deserves recognition." James stood as well, surprised. "That's not necessary, sir. I was just doing my job. You did far more than your job, and I want others to know it." William extended his hand. "Thank you, Sergeant Crawford. Truly." James shook the prince's hand, feeling the weight of the moment. This was why he wore the uniform. This was why the long hours and strict protocols mattered. In that one critical moment, he had made a difference. The afternoon brought waves of media attention. News outlets around the world picked up the story of Prince Louis's security scare. Headlines ranged from sensational to sympathetic. Royal toddler triggers palace lockdown. 5-year-old prince wanders into tourist area. Security breach at Kensington Palace raises questions. The palace press office worked overtime, crafting a careful statement. They confirmed the incident, praised the security team's rapid response, and emphasized that Prince Louis was never in any real danger. They declined to provide specifics about how he had accessed the public area, citing ongoing security reviews. Catherine scrolled through the news coverage on her tablet, her stomach churning. Photos of Louis surrounded by guards were everywhere. Some outlets used the incident to criticize palace security. Others questioned whether royal children should be given more freedom. A few blamed Catherine and William directly, suggesting they were careless parents. "Don't read that garbage," William said, seeing her expression. "They weren't there. They don't know what happened. And they certainly don't know our son. They're calling us neglectful, saying we don't watch our children properly. They're filling space and generating clicks. Nothing more." William took the tablet from her hands. "Louis is safe. That's all that matters. The rest is just noise." But Catherine couldn't shake the feeling of being judged. She knew how the media worked. They would dissect every detail, every decision, every moment. By tomorrow, there would be think pieces about royal parenting, security protocols, whether 5-year-olds should be allowed in gardens with accessible gates. George and Charlotte arrived home from school that afternoon to find the palace buzzing with unusual activity. Extra security personnel walked the grounds. Maintenance workers were installing new locks on gates. Staff members spoke in hushed tones. Charlotte found her mother in the sitting room. "Mummy, why are there so many security guards outside? Did something happen?" Catherine had been preparing for this conversation. "Come sit with me, both of you." George and Charlotte sat on either side of her. Catherine explained what had happened that morning in age-appropriate terms. Louis had wandered away from his nanny, walked into a public area, and security had to respond quickly to keep him safe. "Is Louis in trouble?" George asked. "He has consequences for not following the rules. But mostly, he was very frightened by what happened. The alarm scared him, and all the running guards made him think he'd done something terrible." "Can we see him?" Charlotte asked. "I want to make sure he's okay, of course. He's in his room. Be gentle with him. He's had a difficult day." The two older children went upstairs and knocked on Louis's door. Maria let them in. Louis was building a tower with blocks, but his movements were listless, without his usual enthusiasm.
Allie?
Charlotte ran to him and hugged him tight. "Mummy told us what happened. Are you okay?" "I'm okay. I just got scared." George sat down beside him. "Did you really walk into the tourist area by yourself?" "I wanted to see the Red Guards. I didn't think it was bad. But then everyone started running and shouting and the alarms went off and I thought I broke something important." "You didn't break anything," George said firmly. "You just scared everyone because they love you and want you safe." The guard with the tall hat was nice to me. He got down on his knee so we could talk. But then he did something to his gun and it made a loud clicking sound. Charlotte's eyes widened. "He loaded his gun. Like with real bullets." "I think so." It looked serious. George understood more than Charlotte did about security protocols. At 10 years old, he had been briefed on what to do in emergencies, how to recognize threats, and why guards carried weapons. He loaded his gun to protect you, just in case anyone in the crowd tried to hurt you. Would someone hurt me? Probably not. But the guards don't take chances. Their job is to keep us safe, even from things that might not happen. George put his arm around his little brother. "You know what? You're really lucky. Most kids don't get armed guards protecting them. You have people who would do anything to keep you safe, even get in trouble for me. Even that. That's how much everyone cares about you." Louis seemed to process this. "I'm not going to wander off again. It was too scary, and I made Mummy cry." "Mummy cries because she loves you," Charlotte said, "not because she's mad." Later that evening, William gathered the family in the private dining room for dinner. He wanted everything to feel normal, routine, comforting. The cook had made Louis's favorite meal, chicken nuggets and chips. No one commented on the fact that this was not typical royal dinner fare. Louis picked at his food, still subdued. William watched him carefully. "Louis, I want you to know that everyone makes mistakes. Even grown-ups. Even kings and queens." "Really?" "When I was your age, I did something similar. I wanted to explore the palace gardens, and I climbed over a fence I wasn't supposed to climb. I fell and scraped my knee badly. My security guard had to carry me back to my mother, and I got in big trouble." Louis looked up with interest. "You got in trouble?" "Very much so. My mother was furious and frightened. She made me stay in my room for the whole afternoon, just like you had to today. And I had to write a letter apologizing to the security guard who had to rescue me." "What did you write?" "I wrote that I was sorry for not following the rules and for making him worry, and that I would try to be more careful in the future." William smiled. "I still have that letter. My mother kept it. She said it would remind me that even princes need to learn from their mistakes." Catherine added, "The important thing is that you understand why the rules exist. They're not to punish you or stop you from having fun. They're to keep you safe so you can grow up and do amazing things." "Like what things?" "Like anything you want. You might be a pilot or a teacher or a scientist or help run charities like your father and I do. But you can only do those things if you stay safe and grow up healthy. That's why we have rules and gates and guards." George spoke up. "Can I tell him about the training I did last year?" William nodded. "Go ahead." "Last year, Papa arranged for me to do safety training with the security team. They taught me what to do if there's an emergency, how to recognize dangerous situations, and why it's important to stay with trusted adults. Maybe Louis could do something like that too. Kid version, so it's not scary, but so he understands. William considered this. That's actually a good idea. David Chen mentioned developing age-appropriate security awareness for all three of you. Nothing frightening, just basic knowledge about staying safe. I want to learn, Louis said. I want to know why the guards do what they do, and maybe I can learn to be better at following rules. That's very mature of you, Catherine said. We'll arrange it. And in the meantime, you're going to stick very close to Maria, or to me, or to Papa. No wandering, no exploring alone. Deal, Louis agreed. After dinner, the family watched a movie together in the private screening room. Louis sat between his parents, secure and loved. By the time the movie ended, he had fallen asleep with his head on William's shoulder. William carried him to bed, tucking him in carefully. He stood for a moment, watching his youngest son sleep. So small, so vulnerable, so precious. The thought of what could have happened that morning made his chest tight with residual fear. Catherine appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. He's okay. We're all okay. This time. But what about next time? What if there's a moment when we're not fast enough? When security doesn't respond in time? When someone with bad intentions is in that crowd? We can't live in fear of what might happen. We can only do our best to keep them safe, while still letting them be children. How do we balance that? How do we protect them without suffocating them? Catherine leaned her head on his shoulder. One day at a time. With good security, clear rules, and constant vigilance. And with faith that the people around us, like Sergeant Crawford, will do their jobs when it matters most. The next morning, life returned to something resembling normal. George and Charlotte went to school. Louis had his lessons with his tutor, though Maria stayed closer than usual, never letting him out of her sight for even a moment. Catherine and William attended their scheduled engagements. Smiling for cameras and pretending the previous day's drama hadn't shaken them to their core, the media attention gradually faded, replaced by other royal news and celebrity gossip. But within the palace, changes continued. Every gate received new locks with keypad entry. Access logs were implemented, tracking every person who entered or exited secure areas. Security guards received updated training on child-specific threats and rapid response protocols. David Chen presented a comprehensive security review to William and Catherine. 47 recommendations, ranging from minor adjustments to major overhauls. Some were implemented immediately. Others would require months of planning and installation. The goal, David explained, is to create layers of security that don't feel oppressive, but provide maximum protection. The children should feel free to play and explore within safe boundaries, but those boundaries need to be absolutely secure. What about when they're older? Catherine asked. Charlotte is already asking why she can't walk to the corner shop like her school friends. George wants to ride his bicycle beyond the palace grounds. We can't keep them in a bubble forever. No, you can't. But we can prepare them for increased freedom. Training, awareness, trusted security details who stay at a discreet distance. As they mature, they'll gradually take on more responsibility for their own safety. William nodded. When does that training start? For Prince George, we can begin more advanced protocols now. He's old enough to understand risks and make good decisions. For Princess Charlotte, basic awareness training this year, with more advanced elements added as she gets older. For Prince Louis, we'll start with very simple concepts, staying with adults. Recognizing the security team, understanding that the guards are there to help. Make it appropriate and non-frightening, Catherine insisted. I don't want them paranoid or scared of the world. Absolutely, ma'am. The goal is confidence, not fear. Children who understand why rules exist are more likely to follow them. That afternoon, Sergeant James Crawford was invited to the private residence. He arrived in his dress uniform, nervous despite William's kind words the previous day. He was shown to a sitting room where the entire family waited. Louis saw him first. That's the Red Guard. The one who helped me. James smiled. Hello, Your Royal Highness. It's good to see you again, under better circumstances. William stood and shook James's hand. "Sergeant Crawford, I wanted the children to meet you properly. You played an important role in keeping Louis safe, and I thought they should be able to thank you in person." George stepped forward first, extending his hand formally. "Thank you for protecting my brother, Sergeant Crawford. That was very brave." James shook the boy's hand, impressed by his maturity. "It was my honor, Your Royal Highness." Charlotte was more direct. "Did you really load your gun?" Louis said you did.
I did.
"When there's a potential threat to a member of the royal family, protocol requires us to be ready to respond with force if necessary. I loaded my rifle to ensure I could protect your brother if anyone tried to hurt him. Would you have shot someone?" "Only if I had absolutely no other choice and someone was actively trying to harm." Prince Louis. "Our first priority is always de-escalation and protection. Violence is the last resort, used only when all other options are exhausted." Louis walked up to James shyly. "I'm sorry I made so much trouble. I didn't mean to make the alarms go off." James knelt down to Louis's level, just as he had that frightening morning. "You didn't make trouble, Your Royal Highness. You just made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is learning from them. I learned. I'm not going to wander off anymore, and I'm going to do training so I know how to stay safe." That's very wise. "And if you ever see me on duty again, you can wave." "I might not be able to wave back because I have to stand very still, but I'll always be happy to see you." Louis smiled, his first genuine smile since the incident. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why is your hat so tall? Is your head really that big?" The adults laughed, and James grinned. "It does look that way, doesn't it? The hat is called a bearskin. It's made from real bear fur, and it's part of our traditional uniform. It makes us look taller and more impressive, which is supposed to be intimidating to anyone who might want to cause trouble." "It's very impressive," Louis agreed. "I like it." Before James left, Catherine pulled him aside. "Sergeant Crawford, I haven't had a chance to thank you properly. As a mother, knowing that you protected my son means everything to me. You have my deepest gratitude." "Your Royal Highness, I have a daughter myself. She's 7. When I saw Prince Louis standing there, so small and scared, I thought of her. What I would want someone to do if she was in danger. I just did what any father would do. You did far more than that. You did your duty with compassion and courage. Thank you." After James left, the family spent the rest of the afternoon together. They played games, read stories, and tried to rebuild the sense of normalcy that had been shattered. By evening, Louis was laughing again, acting like the carefree 5-year-old he was supposed to be. But Catherine noticed he stayed closer to her than usual. He checked to make sure she was nearby before running off to play. He asked permission before going into different rooms. The incident had changed something in him, made him more cautious, more aware of boundaries. Was that good or bad? Catherine couldn't decide. Part of her mourned the loss of his fearless innocence, but another part recognized that a little caution might keep him safer. 2 weeks after the incident, David Chen organized the first family security awareness session. He set it up in one of the palace's smaller rooms, making it feel informal and comfortable rather than like a military briefing. Colorful chairs for the children, toys and books in one corner. Nothing intimidating. George, Charlotte, and Louis sat together while David began with simple concepts. "Does anyone know why you have security guards?" George raised his hand. "To keep us safe." "Exactly right. But safe from what?" "Charlotte, any ideas?" Charlotte thought carefully. "From people who might want to hurt us? Or take us away?" "Yes, your family is very important, and unfortunately, that means some people might want to harm you or use you to hurt your parents. The security team's job is to make sure that never happens. But here's the thing, security isn't just about guards with guns. It's about making smart choices." For the next hour, David taught them basic safety concepts using games and examples. He explained why they should always stay with trusted adults, how to recognize their security team members, what to do if they ever felt unsafe or got separated from their guardians. Simple rules that could save their lives without frightening them. Louis participated enthusiastically. asking questions and wanting to understand. When David showed them photos of security team members in various uniforms, Louis pointed to James Crawford. "That's the guard who helped me. He was very nice, and he has a daughter like Charlotte." "That's right. Sergeant Crawford is one of many people whose job is to keep you safe. If you're ever in trouble, you can trust any member of the security team to help you." After the session, George approached his father. "Papa, can I learn more? Like actual security stuff. I'm old enough." William considered this. At 10, George was beginning to understand his future role. He would eventually be king, which meant a lifetime of security concerns. Starting his education now made sense. "What kind of things do you want to learn?" "I want to know how to recognize threats, how to stay safe if something bad happens, what to do if there's an emergency and the guards can't get to me right away." George's face was serious, mature beyond his years. "I don't want to be helpless. I want to be able to protect myself and Charlotte and Louis if I need to." Pride swelled in William's chest. His son was growing up thinking about others, wanting to be responsible. "I'll arrange it. You'll work with David Chen and the security team. But George, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Don't let this make you afraid. Security awareness is important, but so is being a child. You should still play football and climb trees and have adventures. Just safe, smart adventures." "I promise, Papa. I just want to be prepared. Like you are." Liam pulled his son into a hug. "You're going to be an amazing king someday. But right now, you get to be a kid. Don't rush growing up." Meanwhile, the maintenance worker who had left the gate unlocked faced consequences. He was a 58-year-old man named Robert Hughes who had worked at the palace for 15 years. He had never had a security violation before. On that particular morning, he had been running behind schedule, rushing to complete his deliveries before the grounds opened to tourists. In his hurry, he had forgotten to lock the gate. David Chen interviewed him personally. Robert sat in the security office, his face gray with stress. "I've gone over that morning 1,000 times in my head. I set down the mulch bags, propped the gate open to make carrying easier, finished the delivery, and walked away. I just forgot to go back and lock it. It was stupid and careless, and I take full responsibility." "Do you understand that your mistake put a member of the royal family at risk?" "I do, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. That little boy could have been hurt because of me." Robert's voice cracked. "I have grandchildren his age. The thought of what could have happened." David made his recommendation to William and Catherine. Robert would be terminated from his position, but would receive a full severance package and a neutral reference for future employment. His 15 years of otherwise spotless service were acknowledged. But security breaches couldn't be overlooked. Catherine asked to meet with Robert before his departure. He arrived nervous, expecting anger or blame. Instead, Catherine thanked him for his years of service and told him she knew it had been an honest mistake. "I don't want you to carry guilt about this forever. My son is safe. Everyone is safe. You made a mistake, and there are consequences. But you're not a bad person." Robert left with tears in his eyes, grateful for her kindness, but still carrying the weight of what might have been. The story gradually faded from the news cycle, replaced by other royal events and global news. But within the palace, the incident remained a turning point. Security protocols were tightened, staff training was enhanced, and the royal children gained a deeper understanding of why their lives were different from other children's. Louis adjusted to the changes remarkably well. He accepted that Maria, or another trusted adult, needed to be within sight at all times. He asked permission before going anywhere new. He even started to recognize security team members, would wave to them cheerfully when he saw them on duty. One morning, about a month after the incident, Louis asked his mother a question while they were having breakfast. "Mummy, when I'm big like George, will I have to be king?" "No, sweetheart. George will be king. You'll be a prince, like your Uncle Harry was." "What do princes do?" "They help the king. They do important work with charities and organizations that help people. They represent the royal family at events, and they try to make the world a little bit better." Louis considered this while munching his toast. Can I still be a regular person sometimes? Like go to shops and play at parks? Catherine's heart ached at the question. Her son was beginning to understand that his life would always be different. You can do many normal things, sweetheart, but you'll usually have security guards with you, staying close to keep you safe. Some things will be harder for you than for other children, but you'll also have amazing opportunities that other children don't get. Like what? Like meeting interesting people from all over the world. Like helping important charities that need support. Like traveling to beautiful places and learning about different cultures. Your life will be different, but it can be wonderful if you approach it with the right attitude. I want to be brave like the Red Guard. He wasn't scared when all those people came close. He just did his job. Sergeant Crawford is very brave. And you know what? You were brave too. When you were scared and didn't understand what was happening, you still listened to him and did what he said. That took courage. Really? Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the right thing even when you are scared. That afternoon, Catherine arranged a surprise. She brought the children to the guard-changing ceremony, positioning them where they could watch clearly. James Crawford was among the guards on duty. Performing the precise ceremonial movements that tourists loved, Louis watched with fascination as the guards marched in perfect formation. Their movements synchronized, their uniforms immaculate. When the ceremony ended and the guards took their positions, Louis waved at James. The guard couldn't respond while on duty. But Catherine saw a small smile touch his lips. "Can I be a Red Guard when I grow up?" Louis asked. "You'll be a prince," George said. "Princes don't become guards. But princes can learn about guarding and protecting, can't they?" Louis looked at his mother hopefully. "Absolutely. In fact, many royal men serve in the military. Your father was a search and rescue pilot. Your grandfather served in the Royal Navy. When you're older, if you want to serve, you can. I want to protect people like Sergeant Crawford protected me. That seems like important work." William, who had joined them for the ceremony, knelt beside Louis. "It is important work. And the fact that you understand that shows what a kind heart you have. But remember, there are many ways to protect people. Guards protect them from physical danger. But princes can protect people by fighting for better laws, supporting charities that help people in need, and using their voice to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. Can I do both?" When you're older, you can do whatever you're passionate about. For now, just focus on being a good brother, a kind friend, and a curious student. The rest will come later. As weeks turned into months, the incident became part of family history. A story that would be told and retold each time with slightly different details. Louis's big adventure, that wasn't really an adventure at all. The day security protocols changed. The morning a 5-year-old prince learned that rules exist for reasons. Charlotte developed an interest in security procedures, asking David Chen endless questions during their sessions. How do guards communicate? What are the different alert levels? Why do some guards wear red uniforms and others wear regular clothes? David answered patiently, impressed by her sharp intelligence and genuine curiosity. George took his advanced training seriously, learning self-defense basics, emergency protocols, and situational awareness. William watched him practice, proud of his son's dedication, but also slightly sad. George was growing up, taking on responsibilities that no 10-year-old should have to carry. James Crawford received his commendation in a private ceremony. The medal came with a promotion and increased responsibilities. His commander praised his quick thinking and professional response under pressure. "You exemplified the best qualities of the Royal Guard: courage, dedication, and genuine care for those we protect." James's daughter was thrilled when he showed her the medal. "You're a hero, Dad." "I just did my job, sweetheart. Nothing heroic about it. Protected a prince." "That's totally heroic." James smiled, remembering that frightening morning. The crowd pressing in. Louis's frightened face. The weight of responsibility as he realized a child's life depended on his decisions. I suppose it was a bit heroic. But mostly, it was just about caring. When you care about people, really care, you do whatever it takes to keep them safe. Back at Kensington Palace, life continued its careful rhythm. royal duties, school runs, family dinners, bedtime stories. The ordinary moments that made up a life, even an extraordinary life like theirs. One evening, as Catherine tucked Louis into bed, he asked one more question. "Mummy, do you think Sergeant Crawford still remembers me?" "I'm sure he does. You made quite an impression on him, because I remember him too. He made me feel safe when I was scared." "That's important." "It is important. And when you grow up, I hope you'll make other people feel safe too. Not necessarily by being a guard, but by being kind and caring and standing up for those who need help." "I will," Louis promised. "I'm going to be brave and kind, just like him." Catherine kissed his forehead and turned off the light. As she walked down the hallway, she paused at the window overlooking the grounds. Security guards patrolled in the darkness, their presence constant and reassuring. The gates were locked. The protocols were in place. Her children were safe, but she knew that safety was an illusion, or at least a temporary state. There would be other scares, other close calls, other moments when she held her breath and prayed. That was the price of their position, the burden of their privilege. William found her at the window. "What are you thinking about?" "How quickly things can go wrong. How precious they are. How much we depend on other people to keep them safe. We have good people protecting us. People like Crawford who truly care." "I know, but it's still terrifying. Every time they leave the house, every public event, every moment they're not right beside us. Anything could happen." William wrapped his arms around her. "We can't live in fear. We prepare, we trust our security team, we teach the children to be smart and aware, and then we have to let go and let them live. Die. I know. It's just hard." "It is. But we're doing our best. That's all anyone can do." Below them, Louis's window glowed softly with his nightlight. Inside, their youngest son slept peacefully, dreaming whatever 5-year-olds dream about. Race cars and butterflies. Red guards and tall hats. Adventures that were safe and supervised and exactly as exciting as a little prince's life should be. The gate that had been left unlocked was now secured with a new electronic lock that required both a code and a fingerprint scan. The service paths were monitored by additional cameras. The security team had grown by 3 members, ensuring better coverage of the grounds. And in a small flat across London, James Crawford sat with his daughter reading her a bedtime story. She asked, as she did every night now, "Tell me again about the day you protected the prince." James smiled and told her the story, simplified for a 7-year-old's understanding. A little boy who made a mistake. A crowd that got too close. A guard who made sure nothing bad happened. In his version, there were no mentions of loaded rifles or genuine danger. Just a simple tale of doing the right thing when it mattered. "You're the best dad," his daughter said, hugging him tight. "I'm just doing my job," James replied, but his heart was full. Both men, the prince and the guard, tucked their children into bed that night with the same prayer. Keep them safe. Keep them innocent as long as possible. Give them courage for the challenges ahead, and surround them with people who will protect them when they need it most. In a world where danger could come from anywhere, at any time, that was all anyone could ask for. Good people, strong protocols, and a little bit of luck when moments of crisis arrived. Louis's adventure had ended safely. The next crisis, whenever it came, would hopefully end the same way, because protecting the future of the monarchy meant protecting its children one careful day at a time.